Hello and welcome to OK Automotive. And today we are once again in my 1995 Mitsubishi Pajero Mini. So if you're thinking about buying a JDM car, it's important that you understand there's potentially a few more hoops you've got to jump through than a USDM car to get the vehicle legal to drive on the road. I am going to take you through the whole process of doing that with this little K car here, so that you know what to expect, at least in the state of Pennsylvania. Obviously, this is going to vary state to state by a lot. All right, so obviously, just like any car, before you go pick it up, the first thing you need to work out is your car insurance. So you have a few options here. You're going to have to decide whether you want to do a collector's insurance or go through your normal insurer, just add it to your normal policy, whether you want to do full coverage or liability. I will say, if you want to do a full coverage insurance, which you're probably going to want to do if it's something you're financing, if it's a higher value vehicle, is go through one of those insurers that lets you negotiate the value of your vehicle. If it's something obscure like a K car like this, they are going to have no idea how to appraise it, most likely, and in the case that you're in an accident, you don't want them handing you a $1,000 check for a car that you paid $10,000 for. So I opted to just go for liability insurance, to be honest, on this one, just because this car is not worth enough for it to have made any sense to go with full coverage. I went with a normal insurance policy. I just added this car to my normal policy, and I can tell you this car costs me $8 per month to insure. So I don't know what decisions went into that, what factors played into that, but $8 a month insures this little Mitsubishi. So when you go to add the car to your insurance, this is the first time that the weird VIN numbers on Japanese vehicles are gonna come into play. So if your insurer is one of those insurers where you do everything via an app or everything via a website, it's probably not going to work. I experimented with it. I just tried to use my insurer's app to add this car to my policy just to see what would happen. Obviously, as soon as I put in an 11-digit VIN number, no way. So if you aren't aware, American vehicles all have 17 digits in their VIN number. That's not the way it works in Japan. In Japan, it ranges anywhere from about 10 to 15 in the chassis code. And so that's what you're going to use as your VIN number. And that's going to cause you a lot of issues. It's going to cause some confusion when you go to insure it. It's going to cause confusion potentially when you go to register it, depending on how experienced the person you're talking to is. So I called my insurer. I gave them the VIN. I warned them beforehand, hey, this VIN number is not going to have enough numbers. And still, she was very confused. She was very nice. I don't blame her. This is not a situation she would run into very often, especially if she's not been with the company very long. And so you just have to be prepared for them to figure out what to do with you. So it ended up taking me about 45 minutes on the phone, which is not the end of the world. She went around her office asking her coworkers what to do, how to insure my vehicle. Eventually somebody with some experience with these was able to help her out. We got it added to the policy, and from there, no problem. The insurance is really a non-issue. You just have to decide how you want to insure it. And it, like I said, give yourself at least an hour for them to figure out what to do with it. Okay, now for the hard part. You have to register this vehicle, and depending on what state you're in, this can be a major headache, or it can be like any other car. I unfortunately am in Pennsylvania, and so it was a major headache. So most people aren't aware that there is some specific legislation, old legislation, regarding mini trucks, which were K trucks. K-trucks have been imported and used in the U.S. far before they were legal to import as a normal car because of the 25-year rule. And so because of that, most states have laws on the books restricting the use of mini trucks. And since they've become 25 years old, a lot of people have just been importing them like they would any other car and registering them. Well, because there's laws on the books restricting the use of them, the DMVs don't like that. So the state of Pennsylvania instituted a rule that says that if somebody registers a vehicle and the VIN number is less than 17 digits, any vehicle, the DMV has to determine whether or not that vehicle is a mini truck. Now, here's where it gets confusing. You would expect a mini truck to be a K truck, right? A tiny, teeny tiny truck. They list examples of what they call a mini truck, and they're not all that many. Things like Toyota Hiace, which is a huge vehicle, is classified as a mini truck by the state of Pennsylvania. It's essentially anything that is a cab over and imported and right-hand drive in their eyes is a mini truck. They're intentionally pretty vague with how they define it. They just give some examples that make everything a little more confusing. And it does not matter what your vehicle is. It doesn't matter if it's a Skyline, a Supra, a Pajero. If you go to register it in the state of Pennsylvania and it has less than 17 digits in the VIN number, you have to submit an application to the Harrisburg main DMV office for them to look at photos of your car, research your car, and determine whether or not your car is a mini truck. So you've got to submit that application to determine whether or not your vehicle is a mini truck. You can do this one or two ways. You can go to your local licensing office and you can submit an application that way. You send in photos and they make their decision. This takes about 2 months. That's how long it took me. October 12th was when I put in my application. December 10th was when they let me know that they had my plates. I have been informed that if you go directly to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, they can do it all in one day. I can't confirm this, but I have been told that it's possible. So when you apply for this registration, you're going to apply for either an antique registration or a standard vehicle registration. If they determine it's a mini truck, they will deny a request for a standard vehicle registration. If not, if it's a normal car, whatever, it's a normal car from here on out. But if it's a mini truck, if you think they're going to call it a mini truck, which is essentially any cab over to the state of Pennsylvania that's been imported, you want to apply for antique plates. And of course you can get antique plates on any vehicle that is 25 years old, so if it was legally imported, it does classify as that. And the advantage there is you don't have to do emissions, you get a permanent registration. The disadvantage is that legally you're only supposed to drive the vehicle once per week. Obviously that's hard to enforce. I decided to go with the standard registration because I commute in this vehicle every day. I drive past the same police officers every day and I don't want to take the chance. Okay, so we got our plate. Next logical step is to put it on. But there's a catch here, something to be prepared for when you get your JDM car. Japanese license plates are just slightly different sizes than an American license plate. I'll show you what I mean here. Okay, so here's my license plate. There's my full number, so you can steal my identity if you want. I am missing a little hook here, but if you look at the width of those mounting holes and the width of the holes on my plate, you'll see that the plate is just a little narrower than what a Japanese plate would be. So you've got to get an adapter. Alright, so I went ahead and grabbed my adapter. This is what those look like. Pretty straightforward. I've got holes in the center to mount the plate to, and then holes on the edges to mount the adapter to the car. These are pretty cheap. You can get them on Amazon for 10 to 20 bucks. They're pretty easy to find. Just search JDM plate adapter. And so I'm going to slap it on. I'm not going to record that part because I'm working with one hand here. All right, plate's all mounted up. I'm pretty excited about this. This has been a very long time coming, so it's really exciting to finally see a plate on this vehicle. Okay, so now for the most stressful part of getting this thing legal. And the last step between this car and full legality, which is state inspection. I'm in Mon County, Pennsylvania, which means we have to do emissions inspection too. And when a car's old, I don't know where the cutoff is, but this one's a 95, so it qualifies. They can't do the regular emissions inspection. These have to go on what they call a dyno emissions test. I don't know what that involves. I don't know if it's like a normal dyno, like a power dyno, but it's kind of tough to find a shop that has one. So that's what we're doing here today. Fingers crossed that it passes. As for the rest of the inspection, the visual safety inspection, there are a few things I'm a little nervous about. Let me show that to you. Okay, so the first thing I'm kind of stressed about are these tires. In Pennsylvania, your fender has to cover the entirety of your tire. If you look really quick, that's really going to be up to the discretion of the person inspecting. There's really not that much overhang, unless somebody really wanted to get technical about it. The other thing I'm kind of worried about are these windows. So this is completely factory. This is OEM. I'm pretty sure this mirrored tint. All of the other Pajeros I've looked at have it in the rear. I don't know the tint laws here well enough. I know the front laws restrict you to 70%, which is pretty much no tint at all. I don't know what the rear tint laws are. So, fingers crossed, we'll see how that goes. All right, we got our stickers. I asked him how it went, if there was anything really that I should be aware of. He told me everything looked good. He did mention that my tires were, in his words, a little big. I don't know if he was referring to the fact that they were outside the fenders a little bit, or if he was just mentioning that they rub, which they do very badly. So, this little Pajero Mini is 100% legal to drive in the state of Pennsylvania now, which I am just... It's been 2 months. It has been 2 months of waiting to be able to drive this car legally. So I am just over the moon. So I'm going to end the video there. I have some Christmas shopping to do. So when I pick up next time, I am going to teach you how to fix a very common transmission problem with these cars. So if that interests you, subscribe, like the video if you found this helpful. Thanks. Bye.